Hi, I'm with Professor Jamie Jacobs. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this whole drone project? And it really seems like it's kind of one of your passions. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, certainly. First off, from here, we've been using unmanned aircraft for almost 20 years now, primarily for education aspects. It's a great tool to teach students about the design of aircraft, whether it's manned or unmanned, because the entire process, since they're small, it allows you to design a vehicle, build it, and actually test it, so the students have the entire loop, that cycle of design, build, and flight test. And since then, it's given us a lot of experience, in unmanned aircraft, obviously, and that's just jumped off into all these other avenues, with increasing popularity and number of applications that unmanned aircraft have been used for.
I understand that you've taken on not only storm research, but you've also have had some other applications that may involve the military. Can you tell me a little bit about that aircraft that you have behind you, that drone, and how that came about?
Well, certainly this was a project that we worked on with a company called DII out of Norman, Oklahoma, and they had an interest, and they were working on a project for the Air Force on biomimetic perching micro-air vehicles, specifically systems that look like something that you would see in nature, large bird or something similar. It kind of blends into the background, and specifically, military interested in this, obviously, for overseas observation and using them for infantry purposes. But also, you taking other things from nature as well, such as increased efficiency, or things like perching. Be able to land on things very non-traditional compared to what current unmanned aircraft can do. Now, on the storm side, actually I got a start in that when I was an undergraduate student at the University of Oklahoma, and so we started working in the 1980s on a tornado chaser project. And that particular project was pretty ahead of its time. The systems, the cameras, the electronics packages were all really large and bulky and just not advanced enough to really make that project happen. And so coming full circle back to this project now, in 2013, the time is right to make this happen. And there are other universities working on this, particularly University of Colorado at Boulder, under Brian Argro, working with NOAA and NSSL in Norman to develop these vehicles to penetrate storms and learn more about their systems.
Yeah, I'd seen you talk about another type of drone that you were specifically looking to use for the storm research to launch into tornadoes, and you'd mentioned about that you'd working with NOAA and NSSL. Can you tell me about what your plans are to try to make a drone that would possibly be used in that tornado research?
The real interest here is in using a unmanned aircraft to gather more data about how a tornado forms. So it's not flying into the tornado per se, but flying into a supercell before the tornado forms. The real questions meteorologists want are, well, why does one supercell form a tornado and another does not? And when a tornado forms, why does one turn into an EF5 that lasts 40 minutes and one that turns into an EF4 and then lasts only a few minutes, or one doesn't turn into a tornado at all? And it's all about gathering that data, and using an unmanned aircraft to fly in, acquire lots of meteorological and thermodynamic data so that forecasters can put that back into their specific model and increase prediction times. What we'd like to be able to do is move tornado warning times from 10 minutes up to an hour or more, so you really provide people with sufficient time to get out of the path of a tornado or to safety.
Well, we had some interesting storms this spring. We had the May 20 tornado in Moore, and then we had the May 31st tornado in El Reno. Were you planning on trying to launch during those, or are you still just gearing up for next spring?
Well, really, yeah, our plan is a little more long-term than that, so whether we're ready next spring or not, that really just depends upon how things progress between now and then. We have a very long-term view on this. It's not about getting directly into a tornado and providing data right off the bat, but eventually we'd like to be able to put these in the hands of storm chasers as well. The May 31st Reno tornado is a great example. If you look at the storm chaser map, they're all right along a road right in front of the path of the tornado. If you give people the capability to essentially step back a little bit and not put yourself in harm's way, but put a robotic system out to do some of that monitoring for you, which allows you to get close to the storm and provide that data, because the storm chasers provide a very vital role in determining if that tornado is actually touched down and what kind of damage it's doing directly in that area at the immediate time.